Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and this is the Not So Serious Keto video podcast. So, how's your 2020 going? Kind of seems like every time I look at the news, I just wonder, what next? And I think that if there's ever a year where Sharknado is going to come true, 2020, this will be the year. And speaking of news, here is a little keto in the news that popped up on my Google News feed today. I will link to this article down below in the description, the title of which is Low Carbohydrate Diet May Lower Risk of Glaucoma. Find study. So this study was done at the New York Eye and Ear Infirmary at Mount Sinai Hospital. And here's a quote from the author of this study, Dr. Louis R. Pascal. A diet low in carbohydrates and higher in fats and protein will result in the generation of metabolites favorable for the mitochondrion-rich optic nerve head, which is the site of damage in POAG, which is primary open-angle glaucoma. He goes on to say, this dietary pattern has already been shown to have favorable results for epilepsy and showed some promising results for Parkinson's and Alzheimer's diseases. The article then goes on with more good news for us keto folks. Past studies have shown that a ketogenic diet, low carbohydrate and high fat, has a protective effect against neurological disorders. Ketone bodies, energy compounds produced as the body metabolizes fats, are substituted for glucose as a major energy source for the brain, and using more of these under a ketogenic diet may improve function and slow down neuronal, I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that right, neuronal, it just sounds so much like urinal that I can't believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. Neuronal degeneration. Now, it wouldn't be a keto article if they didn't throw at least a little bit of shade at keto, so here it comes. However, more recent studies have shown that a low carbohydrate diet that does not restrict protein or total calories may have similar neuroprotective properties. This diet has been recognized as a more practical alternative to the ketogenic diet, as it's easier to follow and does not have the adverse effects of the ketogenic diet, which range from headache, weakness, and irritability to constipation, nausea, and vomiting. I think really the only time I get irritability is when I'm reading something like that. I don't know where they come up with some of these side effects. But anyhow, just one more little good bit of news, I think, that reinforces the notion of this lifestyle that we've chosen. And it seems to me that almost on a weekly basis, I discover something new, some little benefit that I'm experiencing from keto that it didn't occur to me. I think that very often, and I've mentioned this before, back when all of us were pre-keto, we'd almost become sort of numb to the pain and the discomfort and chronic inflammation and things like that we were experiencing. And it's not until that stuff goes away that we kind of recognize it in its absence. In the past 2 weeks, I've noticed a couple of things. One, I used to have sciatica, and it didn't occur to me until just this past week that I haven't had that feeling. It was just a pain, this nerve sort of pain that went shooting down through my left buttock down to, behind my left knee. And I would have to roll it out on a foam roller on a regular basis. And it was just excruciating to do that, but then it got me a little bit of relief. Like I said, I noticed I haven't had that in as long as I can remember, so it has to have been at least a year. But then the other night, when my wife and I went out for a walk, I noticed something else. It was, after dinner, like 7:30 at night, and it was still 86 degrees out, which I know for those of you living in the southern United States are like, that's no big deal. Well, up here in Wisconsin, 86 is kind of warm, especially for an evening walk. And my wife and I were out walking, and she was sweating, and I wasn't. And that, to me, is kind of amazing, because I've always been a heavy sweater. Thinking back as far as college, I remember going to the homecoming dance and just sweating, just profusely out on the dance floor. And as I mentioned in my transformation video, I would sweat just washing dishes. I mean, I was a very sweaty person. Now, not so much. It's kind of neat to be able to go out for a walk and not feel like I have to take a shower when I get home. Now, I ask from time to time from you, my viewers, if there's any other sort of surprise things that you found that have changed in your life since going keto? Besides the standard things, like getting off of meds and, improved blood pressure and improved lipid profile and some of those things. But, if you've got one of those things that this little conversation we're having just triggered, and you think, oh yeah, like I haven't had a canker sore in a year, I'd be curious to know about it. Put it down in the comments below. A couple of podcasts ago, I talked about hidden carbs and how it's not really the carbs that are hiding, it's bad labeling here in the United States that allows companies to kind of hide carbs and calories. I've discovered two more examples of this, and I'm sure there's a ton of examples out there, but I've discovered two more since that podcast. The first is on Monster Ultra Zero Energy Drink. This has been one of my vices. I know it's not a clean product from a keto standpoint, and on the whole, probably if you're thinking, well, Steve, why would you drink that garbage anyway? You're probably right. So I'm not defending it, I'm just saying I used to drink it. And the reason I say used to in the past tense is their label has changed on it. Right here is the old label. This is one of those sort of deceptive labels, in my opinion, because it's for a can, and it's listing a can of this energy drink as being 2 servings. I have never gotten halfway through a can and said, oh, I guess I'm finished. I'll save that other serving for later. So I don't like when something is clearly a serving size and they label it somewhat deceptively like that. On this old label, it was a 0-calorie drink, and it had 1 net gram of carbs per serving. So 2 grams of net carbs in a can, if you're subtracting out the erythritol. Here is the new label. Now it does actually label it as a can. Suddenly we've gone from 0 calories to 10 calories, and we've gone from 2 net grams of carbs, I'm multiplying out 2 servings, 2 total net grams of carbs in the old way, to 4 net grams of carbs. Now I don't know what prompted this change in labeling, but knowing now that it's 4 net grams of carbs per can, to me that's kind of a waste of quality carbs. I would rather spend that on something else throughout my day. So now it's iced coffee time for me. That's going to be my new summer caffeine beverage of choice, which I'm drinking right now, by the way. Here's another one, and this really kind of disappoints me. This is the everything but the elote seasoning from Trader Joe's. This stuff tastes really good. Now I haven't had it on corn. Elote is grilled corn. But as soon as I got home from Trader Joe's with this, I sprinkled some on my finger and tasted it, and I thought, wow, this stuff is great. I should probably replace the taco seasoning in my tortilla recipes with this stuff. I mean, after all, it's salt, chili pepper, cheese, chipotle, and cumin, right? In fact, if I look at the nutritional information, it's 0 calories, 0 carbohydrates. Does it get any better than that? But wait. Let's look at the small print, and I need the glasses for the small print. First ingredient listed, cane sugar. Then sea salt, then corn flour, chili pepper, Parmesan cheese, chipotle powder, natural flavor, citric acid, dried cilantro, organic rice fiber, and cumin powder. It just frustrates me that there's this sort of lack of truth and transparency in the nutritional labeling. And as a result, it really truly puts the onus upon us, those of us living a ketogenic lifestyle, or those of us that care about what we put into our bodies, or at least want to know what we're putting into our bodies, to really take a hard look at the nutritional labels. Periodically, down in the comments, people will ask me if I consider myself clean keto or dirty keto. And I used to answer, maybe 5-10% dirty, just a little bit dirty. But I've kind of decided to change the name on that, and that's why it's in my tagline, Serious Cooking, Sensible Keto. To me, I think that not only do we need to be cognizant of what we eat, what we're putting into ourselves, I think we also need to temper that a little bit with what's the overall impact per serving of this dirt, of the cane sugar or corn flour that's in here. Is that really going to be enough to cause me inflammation or kick me out of keto or anything like that? And how often are we actually consuming it? If this is a rare thing, so if I'm putting a quarter teaspoon of this into my tortilla recipe and I get 6 tortillas, that's 1/24 of a teaspoon of this stuff. Is that really truly going to have any impact? I know that there are very clean, strict keto people who would say, no, you can't have any of that. And if that's the path they want to go down, they're adults, they can do that. I'm an adult, and I'm probably going to have some of this some of the time. Not frequently, but to me, that's sensible keto. Ultimately, though, I think really all of us, and I'm going to continue to hammer on this, I'm sure, in future podcasts and review videos and things like that, we can't just take a food label at face value, that it says keto friendly on it, for example, or that it says 0 carbs, or that it says 0 calories. We need to dive a little bit deeper. We need to take a look at what it defines as a serving size. Is that a legitimate serving size? And what's on the ingredients list? And are we okay with all of those things? And maybe at some point we get to more truth in labeling. I don't know. Maybe I'm being overly optimistic, but I hope so. I'm going to close out this podcast talking about internet comments, not specifically on my channel anymore. I think I've covered that sufficiently, but just in general. It seems like over the last couple of weeks, comments pretty much anywhere I look on the internet have kind of taken a turn for the nasty. I mean, you're always going to get that on news sites, with politics and stuff like that. And of course, you're going to get it on a keto channel like this, but sports and gaming and gardening and just places you wouldn't really expect that, where it's hobbies and things like that, where people are really getting to be a little bit mean-spirited. And I don't know if we're all just starting to hit this psychological threshold with our current novel situation. So I guess what I'm saying, probably not well, is that all of us have the opportunity to make things better or make things worse out in comment sections. And I'm going to try and make things better. I think one of the things that I'm also going to do is, if I'm out on some other forum of some sort, whether it's, sports, gaming, whatever, music, and I start seeing that level of toxicity, just pull out, stop watching, stop reading, because that stuff just sort of starts to get into you like a poison, and then it manifests itself in your interactions, in my interactions with other people. But that said, I still am going to read right now 2 of the comments I've received in the past week. The first one, you should go vegan before you die an early death, just FYI. Okay, thanks. Like that's a public service announcement. FYI, you should go vegan before you die an early death. The next one is, keto is a joke. It is horrible for you. Horrible for your body, and it causes brain damage, which is why so many people on keto have mental illness. That's one that wow. I don't even know how to respond to that. I was literally dumbstruck when I read that. It was one of those things that I thought about pinning as a comment so that everybody could see, but this particular knucklehead decided he wanted to spam a number of my videos with the comment, keto equals death. So he would post it multiple times on multiple videos, keto equals death. So he had to get channel banned. So you can't actually see his original longer form version of the comment. And yeah, I could have responded to either of these guys, both of these guys. I decided instead I'd just follow my own advice. Sometimes it's easier just to walk away. So this has been sort of a shorter version of my podcast. I feel it kind of makes up for the last couple that were a little bit on the longish side. We'll try and always keep it right in that sort of 17 to 20 minute range, but it's going to vary from time to time depending on what I got on my mind. But that's it for this one. Thanks for watching or listening.